Hi everyone, welcome back to Color Defined. And today we're joined by Alicia, who currently works as a financial services consultant at Deloitte. And she's also been a TEDx speaker before and is an alum of UBC. So hi Alicia, how are you doing today?
Hi Ritika, I'm good.
Amazing. So can you I know you because I've spoken to you before. Can you just tell everyone else a bit more about yourself, like where you're from, what did you study? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Alicia Margono. As you mentioned, I'm a financial services transformation consultant at Deloitte, Vancouver. So that means I work with mostly banking, insurance, credit unions, clients like those. I'm originally from Indonesia and I moved to Canada for university where I did go to UBC. And I actually graduated with a Bachelor of Arts. So I joined UBC wanting to major in creative writing. And by the time I graduated, I had a double major in psychology and international relations and a minor in creative writing, which none of that had anything to do with consulting where I'm at right now. And throughout the course of my university years, I took, I think, 7 internships before I graduated, and they were all in different fields there. So I've been in banking, e-commerce, publishing. At one point, I was working at the Office of the President at UBC, so that was really exciting for me. And then I also worked in energy for a little bit, and then I landed in consulting.
Amazing. That sounds great. Wow. You said a lot, and I'm sure others sitting there just by hearing that know how accomplished you are. So congratulations on that. And I like the fact that you just mentioned on what I was going to talk about, which was like, you graduated with a bachelor's in psychology. And now you are a consultant in the financial stream. So a lot of questions around that. This does not seem to add up somehow. How did this go around? And can you just kind of give us like a quick debrief in terms of what were the few things that happened which made you land at consulting, and like what kind of drove your interest in consulting?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I was working in a few different fields before I graduated, and I decided that I liked that format. I like being able to sort of try something new every few months there rather than do the same thing for years on end or for a longer period. And I knew about consulting because my dad was in consulting, but honestly, for most of my life, I didn't really know what he did. And it was only when I started looking into careers that I went, okay, so what do you actually do? And then the last couple of years of my university degree, I looked into it and I ran through a couple of case competitions. I was in NSCC, which I believe that you were in as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
And I talked to a few consultants there, and I realized that this was something that I really wanted to do. So I took an internship with Kearney, which is another consulting company. This was in Indonesia, where I was actually working from Vancouver. So I was basically working the graveyard shift, like 4 p.m. to 7 a.m. And I decided I love this, but I don't really like, the hours. So then I moved to an actual to a Canadian branch firm there. Sorry, I think it cut out a little bit. Are we back? Okay.
Yes, we're back.
And I chose financial services. All right. So that's how I ended up in consulting, and I ended up in financial services transformation because the person I talked to when I was interviewing with Deloitte, or before I was interviewing with Deloitte, actually, I did a bunch of networking, and I really enjoyed talking to the person I was speaking to, who was a partner with my current team here. And I actually I didn't have a lot of background in financial services. I did one co-op in banking, but nothing other than that. So I was looking into it, and I realized that financial services sort of controls the way the economy works, and I wanted to see more of that, like more of what makes the world sort of move there, what moves the needle, and how towards sort of digitization, and more companies are actually trying. More and more companies with a lot of influence and power are actually trying to make things better with more SRI focus, more focus on minorities and things like that. And I wanted to see how I could work with that. And I'll end on one quick point. I know I've been talking a lot here, but the link between psychology and what I'm doing right now, there is actually a bit of a link there. So part of my projects are also work with organizational behavioral projects. So that means, interviewing, say, the C-suite level people and figuring out what their pain points are and how they can communicate with their other C-suite level coworkers there and actually move things forward. And that's actually something that is not really, seen as much the behavioral component, but it is very, very important when you actually want to make a company run.
No, definitely. It did cut out a little bit when you were speaking, but we'll just see it at the end. It's nice to have the flow of things. But I think I really like the fact that you hinted on that aspect, how like it doesn't really matter what background you're coming from, because I think that's something even I've got questioned a lot many a times, even I'm from kinesiology and entering into consulting, people are like, how is this possible? And I think that's why like I also wanted to bring you on this channel, because I think it's so important to kind of raise that awareness that it does not matter what educational background you're from. It's all just about your interest and where you hope to go. And so many students restrict themselves or limit themselves just because they're from a certain education. And I'm like, that should not happen, because they have so much creativity and potential in them. But just because society or the world has always told them that that's how it's supposed to be, that if you do medicine, that means you only become a doctor. If you do engineering, you only become an engineer. No, things are changing. And we love that. But I'm kind of curious to know, like, did you ever imagine that you would be like a consultant, per se a consultant at Deloitte? And now since that has happened, what do you think is like one thing, whether it be a skill or something about yourself, which you think has helped you be where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. So did I ever see myself as a consultant? I think for the last year or so of my university career, when I was really trying with all the interviews, I did, see myself going in that field. But before that, no, I mean, I took one business course throughout my university degree, and it did not go well. I barely passed, and I didn't really see myself in business, but I did really see myself in problem solving. So that was something that I enjoyed, and I enjoyed meeting new people, encountering new problems. I just didn't really like the whole, I don't know, say use business case side of it, like balancing a business sheet. That was not really my interest. So I thought that I couldn't go into business. But then I learned more about what it was and what I could contribute, and then I went for it. Sorry, what was the second part of your question?
Yeah, second part was just kind of like, what is one main thing which you think like helped you get where you are today?
Right. So you were just talking about how people don't really have confidence at certain points if they don't really have the background or the traditional background to get to a certain field. And I think that is BS that I had to unlearn a lot. Even when I was in consulting, the imposter syndrome hit hard in the first few months there, because I'm like, I'm not a business student. I have no idea what I'm looking at when I'm looking at this whole like P&L sheet. I don't have any background in insurance, and I'm working with an insurance client. What am I doing here? And I got very, very scared, right? And I think that was something I really had to unlearn. For one thing, like, everyone learns on the job, and this is true for every job. You learn on the job, and then you have to be open to asking questions as well. It's okay to have, a little bit of insecurity there. That's natural, but you also have to be able to, for lack of a better word, like, get over it as well, or in a healthy way, and be able to find what it is to help you get the job done, right? Like, be open to asking questions. No one really knows what they're doing on their first day, and someone else will know the answer to your question, and if not, they will be able to direct you to someone else. So that is one thing that's really helped me throughout my my last few months in consulting here, just being able to ask those questions and being more open, and being okay with not knowing stuff and making mistakes, and and not feeling like I'm as good as others, especially others who have been there for longer than me, which is completely natural, and being okay with those things, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think the two words that you said that really struck to me were like, the imposter syndrome and unlearning things. I think that is something like, it also comes down to what we have been brought up with in a way. Like, you're always taught to think in a certain way, and that something leads to only this one particular thing. And it becomes very difficult to unlearn things because you're like, no, I was taught this. So how can it be something wrong? But, it's not even like it's something wrong. It's just that, like, with how times are changing, you also kind of have to develop and like change things accordingly. Because I know for me itself, like, I understand that imposter syndrome, I completely relate to it, because I know so many times, even in case competitions, when I'm working with a group, like, if they say, oh, the financial model we need to create, and I'm just like, no, I cannot do it. Like, I've never done it. I'm from kin. I don't think I can do it. And then I remember one of my mentors told me, she's like, you just have to give a hand to it and you'll realize it's not that difficult. And in the past 3 competitions I took part in, I was the one doing the financial models. So,
Nice.
It was, for me, it was like a pat on the back. Like, even though we did not win the competition, but like, it was a step further than where I was before, So it's all just about taking the small steps. It doesn't have to be that big step of you just winning and acing everything, It's just about taking those small steps.